going to start doing these roughly every other week, not for everybody. Like, it's completely optional, and it's kind of a, here's the topic. If you want to learn about it, come learn, and if you don't, that's all right, So,
That's great.
so this month we're doing graphics in the switcher, and then in coming months we're going to do a deep dive on the switcher. We're going to do engineering. We're going to do cameras. We're going to do all sorts of stuff. So, we're going to do a director's workshop for directors, and it's kind of like, if you just want to see like what the directors are learning, then great, come out and learn, So very much come and hang and let's all learn together type thing. So I'm excited to finally be able to do this. I've been wanting to do this stuff for a while. It just hasn't worked out. So
Can we pray?
we can pray. Yes, I will pray for us. Yes. Heavenly Father, just coming to you today, and first of all, just so thankful for the awesome team, the awesome members of this team that put in so much effort every weekend for your glory. And God, while we know that you are in charge, we also want to be better at our skills and at our crafts and to serve you better. So Lord, I just pray that today and as these continue in the weeks to come, that that we're able to learn a little bit more and to be able to worship you better every day. And Lord, I'm just thankful for all that you are and the way that you are leading and guiding us every day. It's in your name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
And pray that this old mind will remember what you teach us.
Right? That's what notepads
She's
are for.
talking about
So.
me again.
Yeah, right?
Come on.
This old brain.
Some of this for you, Bobby, may even be recap. So
Okay,
we'll
well, that's
see.
always helpful,
Yes.
too.
So a decent amount more because you do some of the editing during the week, which helps a lot.
Oh, that's the truth. Amen to that.
Well, I'm going to dive into a few things that we...
Oh, I'm sorry. Another question.
yes.
We haven't had another upgrade yet, have we? This is the current.
This is current version.
Okay.
Just diving in a little deeper than...
Okay.
Trying to take everybody from like weekend knowledge to a little bit more in depth. If I'm out for a week or whatever and they decide to throw out the set and start over, then that's going to be you all trying to figure it out. So I want you all to know kind of what's going on and how to do it and all that stuff. So, which again, you know a decent amount, but it'll be a good recap for
She
some
taught
level
me,
too.
actually.
So there you go.
She taught me. I remember that now.
Really?
You're the one that taught me ProPresenter when I first got here. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
But then he's soon far out.
I don't know. I just made it. It's a shame.
When you wrestle with it every day, right?
Absolutely.
So I'm going to do a few, I'm going to overview a few things that we probably know, and then I'm going to dive in on some new stuff as well, some new features. So we'll start with arrangements. I know I had talked about arrangements, and we've touched them a little bit. I know everybody's touched them a little bit, but there's definitely some things to be aware of when we're talking about arrangements. So first of all, arrangements in our context, so Bobby and the band, they come up with our edits. Those, not this Bobby.
Myers.
Bobby Myers, our music director, yes. So we work in Planning Center through edits. So in Planning Center, you can actually see our edit numbers. I can actually pull those up just to show you where they're at here. So when Bobby puts a song in Planning Center, he has an edit number. So if you hover over this, you can see it says edit 1. I think all of the songs this week are edit 1, but some weeks there's edit 2, 3, 4. So
and that's just the key that they're
the A is like the key. Yep, D.
Those aren't numbers.
No, letters. So yeah, it says edit 1. It says edit 1 there.
Okay,
Yep, you can hover on it, click on it, whatever you want to do. So we build all of our music in ProPresenter to align to those edits. So when Bobby says we're doing edit 2, I know that I can go in and pick edit 2, and my lyrics are going to line up with what they're singing on stage. So an arrangement or an edit in our context is the same word. So we're stuck with arrangements because that's what ProPresenter calls them. Otherwise, I'd probably change them to edits. So edits or arrangements are groupings of lyrics in our context. So we've taken the song, we've split it up by chorus, verse, all that stuff into groups, and then we can take those groups and arrange them however we want to match the song. So I've got Good Grace up here. It's a song we've been doing recently. I'm going to open up. So this window here is the arrangement editor. So when I click on this, I get the arrangement editor. And if I drop down this list, I can see some of the arrangements that we've already built. Before I do this, I just want to kind of explain what you're seeing here. So the top row is the existing groups. So these are the groups in the master song file that we created. There's one of each. So there's one verse 1, there's one pre-chorus, there's one verse 2, such and such forth, all the way. We also always create a beginning slide, an end slide, and a blank slide. So the end and the blank functionally are the exact same. They don't really do anything. They're blank slides. The beginning slide actually has some stuff on it that we're going to talk about a little bit later to set up our confidence monitor and all that. But we always create those, and then we create our groups right after it. So if I actually go into an edit that we've already built, you can see that what we've done is we've taken these groups up here that we've pre-built and we've arranged them into the arrangement. So you can drag as many of these as you want down here in any order that you want, and it's going to build all of our slides all the way down. So the beauty of that is I can have as many arrangements as I want. They can be any order that I want, and I don't have to worry about copying, pasting, any of that that we used to do. Now, the trick to this is, because of this, you have to be real careful how you edit anything. So we'll talk about that in a second, but just for basics, if you want to add something, you drag it. If you want to get rid of something, you just click the little X on it, and then you can drag stuff around however you like. Make sense? Any questions? No?
I don't know when to ask this question.
Okay.
1 week when you were gone, we needed a blank slide.
Yep.
And didn't have one up there.
Interesting.
I need to know how to add.
Well, I'm going to go over that.
Okay,
So that's a perfect question.
I wasn't
Yes.
sure when
Yep.
to ask.
Yep. I'm going to talk about editing these and how to edit arrangements carefully so that you don't mess them up. So that is a perfect question. So we'll actually talk about that now. So because these are groups, so you can see like I've got verse 1 here as a group. Probably the chorus is actually a better example. Does this song have a chorus? No, we use the pre-chorus because it's multiple times. So because these are groups, if I edit anything in this pre-chorus group, it's going to edit it throughout the song. So that's one thing you have to be careful with. That includes copying. So if I copy a slide here, I've got this song specifically so I can destroy it. If I copy a slide and paste it, and you see it's twice here, now it's twice down here as well. So you have to be real careful about if the band decides to stop a few words in, on one pre-chorus, you can't just delete it in that pre-chorus because it's going to delete it throughout the song and you're going to mess it up. So the only way around that is there's two ways. Either you're going to just have to skip the slides, or you're going to have to go and create a new pre-chorus that has those slides left off. Yes, Bobby?
Like in the one place where they want it twice and the other place where they only want it once.
Yep.
If you disable it there, will it disable it?
Yes,
Okay,
disabling
so that's
everything
not a
you do to
solution
that
either.
group. Yep.
Okay.
Everything you do to that group applies to the whole group. So
it's a hard copy of both of them.
yes. So if I disable a slide, it is disabled up here as well. So
Got it.
yep,
Okay.
it is a hard copy. Very
Because
much so.
Sam
Yep.
and I were trying to fix that situation
Yep.
where there wasn't a blank one and that
Yep.
we had.
Yep.
And
That's
kind of
what happened.
situation,
Yep.
right.
So your only way around that is to duplicate this group essentially, which I'm going to show you here in a second, and then use the duplicate that you've changed down in place.
So does that make that another group?
It does.
For that?
So let's see that. So first of all, anytime you're editing slides of a song, I highly recommend going up here and switching to the master group. This is going to save you a lot of heartache because you're going to see what you're actually getting. So switch up to the master and then make your edits. So let's say for some reason this pre-chorus, they get down to the end and they just decide to skip these last 3 slides somewhere in the song. So if I'm going to make a duplicate of this, I'm going to go in, I'm going to copy all the slides in that group. Or you could copy just the ones, but just for the sake of this example, I'm going to copy all the slides. And then whatever you paste it into is going to be the group. So whether I paste it here or I paste it down at the end, that's going to be the group it ends up in. So I'm going to paste it up here for a second. You'll see what I'm talking about here in a second.
You're just going to put it in the middle then.
I'm going to put it in the middle, mostly because when I create a pre-chorus 2 group, I just want it to be in the list with the pre-chorus. So whatever order it is here is kind of what it shows up in that top section. So I'm going to paste it here. Now for a short second, it's going to wreck our pre-chorus because now our pre-chorus just has this twice. So what I'm going to do is on the first slide of that new group, I'm going to go down and I'm going to right click and I'm going to go group. Because I don't have a pre-chorus 2, I really have to do edit and type in my own. So I can do edit, pre-chorus 2, hit enter, and now we've got a new group.
And how does it know only those successive slides?
Because once it hits another group, so in this case verse 2, it's going to say I'm not going to change verse 2.
So it's not like you have to select each one
No,
of those.
you select the first one, yep, and it's going to take every slide after that up to the next group.
Do that again, please, or go through the steps again, please.
So I'm going to ungroup this. So ungroup means to basically rejoin it, to merge it back to the previous group. Okay. So I'm going to ungroup that, so now it's back in this long pre-chorus group. I'm going to right click. I'm going to do group. And then I'm going to do edit. And then I'm going to type in the name that I want it to be. And then hit enter.
Now,
It asks...
If you do that without there being a song at the end, another group.
Yeah, group. Yep.
Will it still stop just within that group no
Yeah.
matter what?
Yeah. It'll be the end, so it'll be the end. Okay. So it's just going to run to the end at that point. Yep. It will ask if you want to save to global groups. I would highly recommend against it because we have a pretty long list of predefined groups already. So we try to keep these in sync across all of our machines. So I try not to add stuff to these lists too often. If we're going to add it, it's going to be some executive decision that we decide to put in, like the West Auditorium as well. So I would recommend if you're creating a group.
It'll let you do that, but you don't have to.
I wouldn't do it.
Permanently add
Yes,
it,
exactly. Yeah. So that checkbox that you saw pop up there is asking if you want to essentially permanently save it to this list here.
The answer is no.
And the answer is no. Yeah. So now we've got 2. So now if I go up here, you can see I've got pre-chorus and pre-chorus 2, and they're in that order.
Cool.
And if you drag these here, you'll also notice that in the master show, it reorganizes them as well. So if for some reason you pasted it at the end and did it, you could drag it. You could drag it back to sort it. So whatever you can do to try to keep it kind of clean is always good. We're always running and gunning, so clean is good. So that's that. Same situation, if you have one verse, maybe you're repeating like verse 1, but the first time through there's a lot of spaces. The second time they're going a little bit faster, so you take out all the spaces. Then you just have to do, probably just do 2 verse 1s, one with space and one without space. It could be a little confusing when you're picking them, but you just have to know what you're grabbing. I've got a few cases like that with choruses where it's like, I've got a chorus that has spaces and a chorus that doesn't have spaces, but they're still labeled chorus 1 just twice. So there are a few exceptions to that rule. So so that's the basics of arrangements. The only other thing I'll say about arrangements is when you're looking through the list of songs, all the songs, if you right click on them, you can select the arrangement also from the drop down. So if I drag Devotion into my playlist here, then I can actually right click here and set the arrangement to edit one without having to go up here and do it here. So it's a little bit of a quicker way of getting to it. Also, if you're editing, it's a good way to switch back to the master as well. So if I need to make some edits here, I can do that here. The only way to adjust arrangements is to go up here, though. So that's arrangements. Any questions about that? Makes sense for the most part?
I think so.
Great.
Better organization.
Yes, better organization. We don't have to have multiple duplicates of every song and anything like that. There is one new thing that is a little bizarre. We're starting to do alternate versions of songs. So you'll notice over on Planning Center, it'll say like Edit 1, Hillsong United, and then it'll say like alternate. And so we've started doing some where, originally we've done pretty much what they had in the original band track, whoever the band was that did it, that's how it sounds. We're starting to do some of our own like musical compositions to change up the songs a little bit. So I do have occasionally songs where we're starting to do alternate. I don't know if I've got an example easy to find. I think Graves into Gardens was one, but I don't see the alternate. So there are a few situations where you will find duplicate songs in the list because, here it is, Waymaker. There's Waymaker and there's Waymaker alternate. And the reason of that is the alternate song also has an edit 1, so I can't do 2 edit 1s in the same. I suppose I could do like edit 1 alt, but we're also starting to change some of the lyrics sometimes. So it's easier for me just to create a duplicate and call it alt. But you'll notice in Planning Center that it also says alternate, so you'll know to grab the alternate version, not the main version. So that's one thing that gets a little weird with arrangements, just how I've had to do that. But overall, it keeps us from duplicating songs, which is fantastic. So, by the way, little aside here, since Rick's new to Planning Center 7, one of the new things in Planning Center 7 is the ability to have a ProPresenter. Good gosh!
All right, I just want to make sure I'm on the right page.
all these P words, so many. ProPresenter 7 allows you to do multiple libraries now. So it used to be you only had one library and you had to pull from it. You can now have multiple libraries. So all of our machines will have multiples. I usually, on lyrics machines, I have like an archive of kind of our old songs. And then we have a list of songs and a list of shows, which the list of shows is very limited on this machine. It's a few like random things. So that's
what do you
that's
use
nice.
Shows for?
On this machine, not much. In this machine, you find the verse slide that we put on our conference monitor, which I'm actually going to talk about how I built that when I get to editing. I've also got a few random ones just for like if I need a full screen graphic on an extra machine for a special event or something, I might throw it in one of these. I typically keep this pretty clean though. Okay. If I have a special event, I'm going to delete whatever show it was pretty quickly afterwards. So so that's what shows is for. They're more important on Graphics 2. We'll get over to Graphics 2 when I get to editing here in a bit. So the only other thing I really want to show on this machine specifically is one of their newer features. So all of our songs, if you noticed in the past, let me go back to this. All of our songs used to have these icons at the top. And so these icons on the beginning slide were saying, we're doing two things. So this was setting the confidence monitor to our lyrics layout. So I can go down here and it's essentially choosing this for me. I put this on every single song just to make sure that it's always on that current slide, next slide thing. The other one is telling the system to show both the lyrics both on the main screens and on the confidence monitor. So we have had a few situations in the past, and you just saw the verse slide, which I'll show you how to build here in a second, where we show stuff just on the confidence monitor, but then when they switch back to the song, it was still just on the confidence monitor. Oh. So this is the safety to say every time it resets to make sure it's always showing on the screen. So I used to have to apply these separately to every song I built. So ProPresenter 7 has just introduced this new feature called macros. So the last tab over here is called macros. So in this, I can build macros that have those individual cues in it, and then I can apply a single macro to the slide, and it'll do multiple things at once. So I've got, you don't necessarily need to know how to build macros yet. We're not to that level. But I will show you that we do have two macros over here. So if you're ever building a song and you see it missing from a slide, you can go over here and drag these macros on top of a slide and just drop it. Now, so I'm going to go ahead and do this. I'm going to go in and remove these two actions. So if I do this and I go in, those are called actions. those two things. So you can add actions, or you can edit, or you can remove. In this case, I'm just going to remove those two. Just like that. So now that macro is doing what those two things were doing. And that also says if I ever change these, I can change them here, and I don't have to go and change them on all 50 songs that we do. Or if I need to add something to the beginning of every song, I can do that.
I love macros.
If we ever start doing copyrights at the end of our songs instead of like at the end of service, I may create like an in slide macro. That way I can just apply that to every song and it's just always there. So yeah, macros, a lifesaver. The other macro is the stage display only macro. That's really handy if you're needing to build this other slide. So what this verse slide is literally just a slide, which we're going to talk about editing here in a bit, but is literally just a slide with the text box and the verse on it. But then I applied this macro to the slide, and because of that, when I click this, you can see that our output is blank, but our stage display has the verse on it. So that's really important for Sam. He likes to read off the confidence monitor, but we need a quick way of getting that on the confidence monitor, so my easiest solution was creating a special slide that does that for us.
So you can actually do that ahead of the community version
Yep.
or whatever, so
Yep.
you can go ahead and use
And the nice thing is it works fluidly. So I can drop that into a show like this weekend service. I mean, I can put it in the middle here. So we can be paging through songs and you can see the confidence monitor following along. And then I can click on this verse, and just because of the macro, it changes the layout of the slide or confidence monitor. It changes the fact that it doesn't go to the side screens.
That is awesome.
And then when I hit this first slide in the next song, it's already configured to show up on the side screens and to change the confidence monitor back. So it's doing all that without having to flip anything. So it's saving our operators so much time. But it is important.
Except the first time I was here that he had one of those, I'm like, are you sure it's only going to be on the confidence monitor?
Yes,
Are you
and she's
sure?
still asking. It's good that you still ask, but it is safe. And I've built a label that says stage display only, so it's a kind of a good note that, you know, if you see this pink and you see this pink, you know that when I'm clicking on this, it's not going to show up on the main screens at all. There's no way.
I'll try to quit asking.
You don't have to. I think it's good, better than not, and then finding out the other way. But you also see this red, when you click on it, you also see this red button come up that says stage only, so you know. That's a good bailout if for some reason, because we've had this happen in the past, a couple cases. If you skip this first slide, it doesn't apply that macro. So say you're going straight into the song.
Can't do that.
You can't do that because if you notice, if I go over here to the side screens, when I click this, the lyrics don't show up on the side screens. So we've definitely had a few cases like that happen, and it's easy to be like, what is going on? I don't understand why this isn't showing up. So a good place to look is over here and see if it's showing up on stage display only. You can bail out by clicking that, and then the next slide will show up on stage display only. So,
But with us not controlling the back screen graphics,
yes.
there should be very seldom instances where we would need to skip that first one.
Yes, sure. Yes, I agree. Yes, with what you're saying. So, yeah, I pretty much say every time, no matter how fast you're going, you've got to go through this slide just to make sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, in the past, we would have had to skip it maybe for some reason, random with backgrounds. But, yeah, every time, try to go through this slide just so that it hits that cue. Because it also won't, if you skip it, if we're looking at confidence monitor here, if you skip it, it won't change the confidence monitor layout. And clicking this also won't change the stage monitor layout because that only applies to what shows on the screen. So it's really important that you hit this so that macro will actually fire and will work. So this is the trade-off of convenience versus, safety. So but yeah, hit the first slide, go right in. The macros will do their job. We just have to make sure we're hitting those. One other thing that's really nice in ProPresenter 7 is, I think they had a search box, but the search box in ProPresenter 7 is far superior to the old one. So you can go up here and you can hit search. Oh my, I'm in this weird loop. And you can search for anything you need. So if you know the lyrics of the song, or you know the song name, you can actually search for it and drag it right in. So if I wanted to say like Graves in the Gardens, I could take that and I could drag it into the playlist down here, or I could drag it into any playlist up here, which is just so much better than what it used to be. Yeah, real nice. So I really like that. They've done a lot to clean up that stuff, which is real nice.
When will I get a monitor that size?
Right?
So I can see what I'm doing.
Someday. That is the majority of this in arrangements. I don't think I want to get into anything else on this machine today. Someday we may do like an engineering workshop that talks about like how the computer outputs, how to troubleshoot outputs and stuff like that if for some reason it started acting up, but I don't want to get into that depth today on how the screens are laid out and templates and stuff like that. So that's lyrics machine, that's arrangements, that's macros. Any questions about any of that? Feel pretty good?
Do you on your macros, if you're going to create a macro, that you have a
Yeah, there's a
new...
teeny tiny plus button there.
Oh, there it is. I see it.
It's teeny tiny, yep. You can create a new one.
Gotcha.
And then you can right click and you can add as many actions as you want to it. So I can do like a clear all, I can do stage display looks, I can do timers, I can do, oh my gosh, so many things.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, so many really cool things. Stage messages, display messages. You can even fire other macros from a single macro, which is just wild. I mean, there's so much stuff you can do. So
That's wonderful.
really powerful. Barely touched the surface of what those can do. So yeah. Other things for you, Rick, if you're new to Pro 7, they've moved all the clear buttons up here, so you can see clear all here. You can see individual clears for like messages or backgrounds and stuff like that up there as well. All these tabs handle some of the stuff that used to be up here. Mm-hmm. So you've got an audio tab, which we never use audio anyways. You've got your stage display layout. You've got your timers tab, your stage messages tab, which used to be that pop-up. Mm-hmm. And then you've got your props layers, which we don't use props layers right now. And then macros. So those are the three there. When you're on... once we're on graphics 2, I'll show you some other stuff that's kind of cool about the preview, but they switched to a tab, which has kind of always, I guess, been sort of a tab layout, but for editors, it's now like this tab layout up here, so I can switch back and forth.
It used to be one button.
Yeah, it used to be like you toggle it on and off, right? So, yeah.
Right. Instead of having two.
It's like a tab now, so.
One thing that I don't really like when you click on the edit button.
Yep.
The rest of your playlist goes away.
Yes, yeah, they're trying to maximize the screen space. Yep.
Because
I think
know the
you
first
can.
few times I'm like,
No, you
the
can't.
rest of them go.
Yeah, where did everything go? One thing that is nice on the Lyric Machine that I don't know if you all are familiar with or not is the Reflow Editor. If you are editing large portions of the song, or say a good example of this, which this one ironically doesn't take away your playlist, is the way. So we've been doing single lines for all our lyrics, so I've been having to break up some of our old songs that weren't single lines. So I'll actually come into the Reflow Editor and do it here because I can do it so much faster than doing individual slides. So in the Reflow Editor, I get this list of all the slides, and I can actually click here and insert slide breaks. So I just split up that song into multiple slides.
And what did you do to do that?
So you just click where you want to put the slide break at, and then you just click insert slide break down here.
Down there. Okay, got it.
And it immediately breaks it up into 2 slides, which is fantastic. You can also edit your groups here as well. So I think this is in some ways more logical because I can see the groups here.
Oh, yeah.
I can go over here and I can actually change the name of the group or create a new group or whatever you need to do.
Okay, now, how did you get to the Reflow Editor?
That's the 3rd tab up here. It says Reflow. So
Oh, okay.
You have to be
'cause
careful.
I've made some changes, some songs that I would be going through them and they'd be one line and then we'd get further down and
They're not. So
and
this
I
is
would
a
just
great place to look.
split them,
Yep.
copy and paste them.
And actually, you don't have to worry about wiping out any of your macros or anything else that you've got.
Yeah,
for
here.
this,
Yeah.
Because you can.
It's
go
much
through and do
safer,
that
yeah.
Without messing anything up.
Yep. Or especially like layout as well. You can't accidentally bump a text box or something like that, which is great. So
And that's called
the Reflow Editor. Now, I will say reserve this for lyrics. Be careful not to touch it on like sermon slides and stuff because it will
Right, it
get
does.
weird
Right.
with multiple layouts and formats. It works better in
Is there a limit to the lines on a single line? How many?
You mean the length of the song?
No, I was thinking of some slides.
Oh,
Oh no, it's weird because it works better when you're working with a standard template. So like every slide here has exactly the same layout. It's one line of lyric with a black background. When we get into sermon content, like the verse slide may have the verse and then the actual scripture passage down below, and then like a main point has a bigger font and different stuff. So it gets weird with that type of stuff.
Gotcha.
So it works better with lyrics. It doesn't work so well with more custom content. The other thing that's nice about this is if you're building a new song, you can copy and paste the lyrics straight into the Reflow Editor and then just start working your way down, creating slide breaks.
Oh.
Boom, 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 boom. You don't have to copy and paste every single slide because that would take forever. So,
when I use a ProPresenter for our community Bible study,
yep.
I use, what's it called? Song Select.
Mm-hmm.
I think you and I have talked
Yeah,
about
we've
that.
talked
You
about
don't
it,
really
yeah.
use that much.
No, because our arrangements end up being so different from Song Select that I usually just build them by hand. I think Hannah gets the lyrics from Song Select though, and puts them in our lyric sheet that's attached to Planning Center.
Yeah.
So that's where I usually pull the lyrics from is
It's
the
already
Planning
done
Center.
for you.
Yeah. And so I'll copy and paste those in here, and then I'll just start working my way down, breaking them up into slides and applying the groups to it. So pretty easy. So love the Reflow Editor. Just reserve it to lyrics. Also, this is another place where it's better to be in the master arrangement, not in a specific edit. If I were to put a specific edit on this, you would see that the Reflow Editor actually starts duplicating stuff. Now it does flow along, so if I start like editing this slide here, say taking out words or stuff, you can see that the other one down here is flowing along, but sometimes it gets weird. So I try to avoid it, especially when you're doing slide breaks. Now it's had to work harder to do all those. So always switch back to the master arrangement when you're editing, just to save yourself some hassle. So that's major edits. If you're changing a single word or something for proofing or something, you can still do it in the normal way, which I don't know if you've done quick edit. I love quick edit too. So right click quick edit and you can do that for single words, which is great.
Right.
They do have this weird thing.
Or on the fly.
Yeah, on the fly.
Yeah.
They do have this weird thing in 7 where the text hasn't been always lining up, and sometimes it's hard to read. I don't know if you've seen that before. You can see, it's not as bad here, but in some cases I've had it where the words will be like doubled and they're offset,
Kinda
and you're like,
the two,
and you're like,
two monitors we used to have over here.
yeah, and they're like, I can't read that or edit that at all. So great. Well, that's graphics 1. So we're gonna skip on to graphics 2. Just talk about a few things over here. So graphics 2, I want to talk about a little more in depth in editing in ProPresenter 7, and then media, how we handle our media, and where it's stored and all that stuff. So we definitely use in ProPresenter, or in Graphics 2, we use the libraries a lot more extensively. So you notice our libraries here are name keys. So I've got several different shows for name keys. I've got a looks folder, which I'll talk about here in a second, and then we've got our shows folder that has pretty much everything else in it. And then I've got 2 playlists on this machine. One is the weekend service, which has all of our normal stuff, and then one is the walkthrough, which has our Planning Center flow that we put on the screen on Saturday. So let's talk about editing real quick in ProPresenter 7.
Okay, let me ask you this.
Yep. Yep, go ahead.
Well, there's something. Never mind.
Okay. Come back to it if we had it. So, great. So, editing in ProPresenter 7 is the edit tab. Like you said, it does hide your
the
rest of your stuff, which is a little unfortunate. But so I'm going to click on a slide that's already edited. Just to give an overview of the editor, if you're familiar with PowerPoint, you're also going to be familiar with this too. So, so this slide is a message slide. I've got 2 text boxes on it, and then a graphic in the background that has the lower third. We always design our lower thirds with, you can see it's actually a full screen graphic. It's just got a lot of transparency up here. You can add stuff to the slide up here with the plus button. So you can add whatever you want. There's some, we'll get into some of the cooler features of that here in a second. The layering, I don't know how to describe it. The layering of what order stuff is from back to front is just determined by the objects down here. So if I drop this picture up at the top, you'll notice it covers the text. So if you find weirdness, so you need to sort them, you can drag them around down here. You can also toggle them on and off and lock them if you find yourself, I really need to lock that on all of them, accidentally dragging stuff or something like that. But when it's locked, if you lock a text element or something, you can't edit it at all, so you won't be able to change the text or anything. So just know that. I wish I could lock just the position, because sometimes when I'm double clicking, I'll drag it around, and I wish I could just lock the position, but it is what it is.
These are a piece of cake compared to the laptop I have to use.
Oh yeah.
Over at CCC.
Yeah.
It is. 2 things happen with it. The monitors are I don't even know that they're that big.
Yeah.
Really
like 13-inch. Yeah, real small.
And the mouse will disappear if you
move
it too far.
Yep.
And then you have to sit there and jiggle it
Shake
and jiggle it.
Yep, to try to find it.
Yeah, to try to find it. And
did I tell you about this? I don't know if it still exists. Let's see if it does.
Oh, please tell me it does.
There used to be a button to find the mouse.
Oh.
Where is that at? Is it here? They may have taken it out. There used to be one that was find the mouse, and you could click it, or you could hit a key command, and it would bring your mouse back to...
Well, Ray Yap keeps telling me there is a command. I just need to look it up.
You have to look it up, yeah. They've taken it out of the menu, but yeah.
And then what was the other thing I was going to say, though?
Is it slow?
No. It can be, but the mouse is very sensitive, and I am so often moving the box.
Yep.
So I have to go
undo,
and then go down and double click again to get what I want to edit.
Yep. And it's easy, especially since ProPresenter 7 introduced guides. So you can do stuff, but sometimes if you're accidentally double clicking, it'll snap to the guide as well, and you're like, well, I didn't need it to because it was a guide that I didn't want it to snap to. So. Right. There's some weird stuff there. Another thing I have noticed, and you'll see here, there's this little plus under this text box. So that means ProPresenter thinks that the content is bigger than the text box, even though it's not. It's a weird kind of bug in ProPresenter. You'll also notice on the main screen that there's a yellow icon saying that one or more of the text boxes on the slide is too small.
You know what it is? It's like, danger, Will Robinson.
Yeah.
You remember that?
No. I was too young.
So I will say, if you see that, it's really not. It's just saying that. I don't know why it's saying that, even though it's just not true. So if you see that,
because when I don't know how you do slides with scriptures, I'll copy the whole thing, even though I know it's more than one slide, and I'll paste it in there.
Yeah.
And then
I know what you're saying, but no, if I hit the down arrow, you can see that this is the end. It's not going anywhere. So it just thinks it's bigger than the box for some reason. So just know that until they fix it, there's going to be a bunch of yellow. No one said anything. It's been this way for a while. But
the screen size.
Yes, if the screen size wasn't right. Now it's got all sorts of stuff. So it's bizarre. But in the editor, you do have tabs. So you've got the presentation tab, which we've kind of always had tabs, even 6 had tabs sort of like this, which applies to the whole show, which is your sizing, which is, for us is always 1920 by 1080. Copyright information, which on our songs, I do fill that out just to keep it with it. Then there's slide information, so this applies to the whole slide, such as backgrounds. They also have a new hotkey feature, which is really cool. I've actually done this on the lyrics machine. You've maybe noticed these orange letters. So if I'm over here, if I need to skip to the beginning of the song, I can hit Q, and it'll skip me to the very beginning of the song. Also,
just Q, not Command Q or anything.
No, just Q. Yep.
Just Q.
Skips you. Yep.
Okay.
E is the end of the song always. Also, they've done like ASDF is verse 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then I think choruses are like ZXCV. So like as you go, it'll be chorus 1, 2, 3. So if for some reason they're skipping, you can hop around just by hitting your hotkeys
instead of having to search with the mouse.
Scroll with the mouse, click it. So the hotkeys are actually really cool. We just haven't talked about them. Mostly because we're not usually skipping around in songs that often. For us, thank goodness, some churches do the spontaneous thing and they're skipping all over the place, and their hotkeys are probably.
Were you here when Titus was here?
No, he was all over the place.
No.
See, hotkeys would have saved your lives.
No, well, maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
Would have saved his. I wanted to kill him.
So that's where you put in the hotkey if you want to specify one. I don't normally for this stuff, but they are for lyrics, which is real nice. So, and then there's the build section, which is for doing special like animations. If you're doing multiple text boxes, like I need this one to come on and this one to dissolve on, you can do some of that stuff.
Wow.
We very rarely do that. I have used that sometimes for where you've seen like pictures stacked on top of them to do like that fancy animation. I'll do that occasionally, but very rarely. Also notice that these tabs change when you click on an item on the slide. So if I click on this verse, you can see that now they've changed to actually apply to this, not to the whole presentation.
Not to the whole slide. Okay.
So I'm going to actually go create a new show because I want to show you some different features as we talk about media. So I'm going to edit the slide. And I'll leave the text box up here for a second to show you a few things. So they've always had positioning stuff, but they do have some alignment guides, which is cool. If you have multiple items, you can actually use those alignment guides to align them to each other really quickly. So if I paste this and like offset them a bit and then select them all, I can actually use this to line them up center, or to line them up like that, or to spread them out evenly, which is pretty cool.
Or to tile them.
Yep.
Is that what that last one is?
Yeah, it looks like they, let's see. Oh, because it takes the first and the last. So if I do this and I do this, then it's going to evenly space them between.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so just like that. So so you set your first, you set your last, and then as many as you have in between, it'll equally lay them out, which is pretty awesome. But some cool new features that ProPresenter 7 has introduced with boxes, either text boxes or shapes, is I can now do fills, and I can do multiple types of fills. So I can do a color fill, I can do a gradient fill, I can do a media fill, so I can actually go out here and like put a photo behind it. I can do a website, I can do video inputs, I can do others like objects on the slide. I mean, there's so much stuff you can do, it's crazy. I mean, my gosh, so many things. Most of these we won't even get into, but a couple cool things are like, say I do a gradient here. I can then turn on the stroke, or to do on the border. I'd call it a border. I don't know why some people call it a stroke, but and different types, colors. I can do shadows here, so hard to see, but there is a shadow on the edge of that.
Okay.
If the fill is turned off, the shadow applies to the text. So there's, if I make it red, we could probably see it better. Let's turn this up. I guess we can't really see it, but you can see it there. So there it is right there. You can also do feathering now, so I can make it soft. Another really cool feature that I've started using for certain things to build special slides is this visibility tab. So I can actually now set conditions on when certain elements on a slide are visible. So for Men's Challenge, we built a group slide that had like group questions on it for their group discussion time. They had a clock that they wanted to show up in the corner for 10, 20 seconds. Well, in ProPresenter, I can actually put that up in the corner now, and then I can say, as long as the clock is not running, don't show the timer at all. When the clock is running, I can set it to be visible. So I can say all the conditions are met. So I can say, like, hey, I've got pre-service countdown here. When it is running, then this box will be visible. When it's not running, the box will not be visible. So pretty powerful in the way that you can set up slides to do a lot of things in one slide. So pretty neat little feature there. The other,
Have you taught yourself all of this, or have you actually gotten to go to classes?
It is purely me messing around in the software. Yeah. I literally will go in here and I'll dig in just like I'm doing with you all, and I'll turn everything on and see what it does.
See what it does.
Yeah. So
do you get a manual with it or anything?
it helps that I've watched. So what I do is I'll watch the keynote when they talk about the new features coming out. So ProPresenter. So they've been doing like mini conferences.
Oh, okay.
So they'll do they'll stream a little video and say like, we're going to announce all the new stuff. I know Apple does this every year, and some of those things where they talk about all their new features. So I'll watch those, and sometimes they'll highlight some new features, and I'll be like, oh, that's really cool, and then I'll try it out. So that's where I learned a few of these things as well. This stuff probably applies more to lyrics and stuff, but occasionally we may do a special design on a slide, and it's good to know how to do it. So on the text tab, you can do a lot of the same stuff. So I can do a stroke on the text specifically.
Oh, yeah.
I can do so here's the shadow I was looking for. So there's the shadow on the text specifically. Some other cool features that I'm using in lyrics is I've turned on the fill on the shape, and then I can turn on this lines only toggle, and that will trim the color down to just the lyrics. So if I have test and then test, you can see now it's creating this. And if I go up here and I increase the spacing between the lines, maybe it's paragraph spacing. Hello? It's because this isn't selected anymore. There we go. Yeah. I can split up those lines.
Oh, yeah, cool.
The cool thing is that applies to anything. So whatever I have in here, if I have a media fill again, it will still do that. I mean, there it is with a picture, still trimming it down. It's wild. You can also say, hey, I want this to be only the width of the line. Or I can say, I want it to be the max line width. So it would look at all the slides and say, what's the maximum line width? And apply that to everyone. So it's crazy. And then you can do some stuff just to...
Instead of you have to do it manually.
Exactly. Yeah. It can apply it to everything. It's wild. And then they've just got some spacing and alignment stuff, so you can maybe add some padding so it's not sitting so close to the text and stuff like that. So wild stuff. Another cool feature they've done recently, which we aren't using yet, is this scrolling feature. So we can actually set it up to, I can actually show you here. Scroll. So if I've been trying some fancy stuff on the center screen of having lyrics maybe in the background, like scrolling across and stuff like that, just for a different look. So that's what the scrolling does. List does your bulleted lists.
Oh, okay.
And then linked text allows you to link to other stuff throughout ProPresenter. So I could link this text box to, say, the timer. and now the text will be whatever the timer is. Or I can say maybe I want it to be linked to the system clock, and so now it's going to be, when I actually show it, it's going to be whatever the clock is, and that will update automatically, which is awesome.
Oh, that's just an example.
Just an example, yep.
But over
Here it's a real time. That's why I hit show at the bottom. So I could apply it, say, like, to the group. So if I was over on graphics 1, whatever group song I was in, it would show the group there. So it's crazy what you can do. Some really cool stuff.
Okay, now.
Presentation name. So.
Can you do all these same things on graphics 1?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
same
okay.
machine.
You
Yeah.
just don't use them on graphics.
No, I don't use them on graphics 1 sometimes. I do use the how I'm doing that black bar behind the text is I've got a black color, and then I've got lines only turned on and to line with. So that's how I'm doing our lyrics treatment right now.
Okay.
So I do use a few of those on there, but not always. Yep. So many features that are new that you can add and get real powerful with the slides. And the cool thing is these can also be built, a lot of these, especially the link text, apply to stage monitors, confidence monitors as well. So all of this data I can provide on confidence monitor too, which is really powerful for, you can build some really complex confidence monitors that can give whoever's on stage a lot of information, which is really powerful. So pretty cool. So that's editing basics in ProPresenter 7. As always, there's a show button at the bottom, so if you want to preview something, you can hit that. Slide notes, which we don't use, are down here as well. One other thing I meant to talk about on Graphics 1, and I'll bring it up. I think I've showed you, maybe, Bobby, this. But if you ever do have trouble reading the text, they've added this new feature where you can actually click on this icon down here called Easy View.
Yeah.
And you can actually toggle Easy View on, and you can see a little bit better. The dots are some of the settings, so I could actually take the font size up on that. So Easy View applies only to the previews here. It doesn't apply to the output. So I could even do this on maybe sermon notes. So really hard to read these verses here. If I turn on this, I can see much larger, and you can see the output isn't affected at all. So that's really nice. The only downside is it does take your pictures away. So if you're, you can't see your videos and stuff, you either just have to know it's there, or you just have to toggle back and forth.
It still says it's up there, you just don't see it.
Yeah. Okay. They also have list view, which old ProPresenter did have list view, but it's, in my opinion, is just about as small as the other one. So you're not much better off. So, and we have our slides just about as big as they go. So it is what it is. But it is handy to know that that's there.
Yeah. Yeah, real handy.
So, okay, the thing that's changed since I was here is I noticed there's no background motion graphics. Is that done elsewhere?
Yes. So we do that in our media server now. So we got a media server. So the way that it comes out of this machine is we have a server screen. We were talking about the multi-screen thing that they do now. So it's essentially this just shifted up to the center. So it sends that out to the server as a layer. So it's just the lyrics layer. And then the server takes that and applies it on top of the backgrounds. So the backgrounds are done on the server.
So somebody determines what backgrounds?
Yeah, so I'm building backgrounds in the server. The server allows us to trigger that by the lighting console now. So the lighting console is triggering that.
So that lighting and background. Instead of me sitting back here going, listening for the band. And trying to
So we are now independent of that workflow. That layer, the server knows that because I build it this way, when it's in a song, it just turns on that lyric layer. When it's not in a song, it turns it off in case for some reason it gets stuck on the screen or something. An operator in the middle of the message or Nate's message hits the button by accident. At least it won't show up on the screen. So
Okay, well, what about child IDs? I know you
right? Those are also gone. Finally. So
I think I've had one child ID maybe this year.
And they are officially gone. So
Yes.
I can say we do not do child IDs anymore. We have installed screens out in the auditorium. You can actually see them below the main screen. They're LED screens.
Never noticed
So
it.
all
Is that
child
a
ID requests go to IT now, and they will put it up on those screens.
Hallelujah,
And
I've lived
it
to
is-
see the day.
Yes.
it
Cameras
is-
and no child ID.
Yes.
And it is, the child pretty much has to be dying before they can put it up on those screens because they're supposed to be texting parents anyways. So that's why we've had so few, because they have so many hoops to jump through in order to even put up a child ID in general. So, but we officially don't do them anymore. So if anybody asks you to do them, send them to IT because we don't do it anymore.
And
So
who would that be on the weekends?
Leah or Miles.
Okay.
So one of the two. So yeah, child IDs are gone. Speaking of messages, though, we do still use our service countdown.
When they'd be sending us the messages, and then they'd be calling us, and we're in the middle of it.
Oh,
Yeah,
10 minutes
I was
on.
over that. I'm like, we've got to kill this. We can't be doing
that
that.
was so
So
distracting. I
Yes.
mean, I would have to leave here, go back here.
Yep.
You know, if
Yep.
you're short-handed, I mean, you don't have a dedicated. You don't want the graphics operator to do it.
No, especially in the middle of
They
a
got
song or
enough to
something.
do.
Yeah, and the director's trying to call shots and put in a child ID. Like, yeah, no.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
That was like, if I had one thing that I was going to do before I left this place, it was killing child IDs.
Fantastic.
It's taken long enough.
It has.
Man.
I'm
Nothing against the children.
no.
No.
I want to help the children, but we have
we work
we
the
have
best way
new
to do it.
processes, so we got to stick to them. So overall, that's the majority of stuff. I am going to show media, and then I'm going to show a few tips and tricks. I think I'm going to do the tips and tricks first, though. So because we're here.
Excuse me.
So a couple cool things. Bobby already knows about this, but messages now are over here. So we've got our countdown timer selected. We've got it set to 10 minutes. If you need to change that, as usual, you change it, hit return, and it updates. But now you don't have to reset it. So when you hit show, it automatically shows. If I hide it and then show it again, it automatically resets. So we don't have to reset the timer anymore from service to service, which is great, because I remember in the past we had a few incidences where it was like 0 seconds and like, whoops.
And it's always there. It's not like the pop-up box
Yep.
where, oh crap, I forgot to open the box.
Open the box and it's over top the lyrics and all that. So I really do think they did a better job. I hate the buttons in the bottom corner of the screen. It can kind of be hidden sometimes, but once you know where it's at,
Yeah.
it's not too bad.
I think that's a great improvement.
Yeah. On videos, so they've really drastically improved the, besides making the font tiny, they've drastically improved the playback section here. So I have a skip ahead 15-second button, I have a skip back 15-second button, and I have a 30-second from the end button as well, which is really cool. In the past, I know we've been like, can we just show the last 30 seconds of that video? So now we can. We just click that button and it jumps automatically to the last 30 seconds of that video. So
Great.
that's pretty slick. Slick. You don't have to be scrubbing through here anymore.
Yeah, the only issue I have with that on with the size monitors we have is when I come in, I don't have sound anyway.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to read,
Yeah.
and it's a little difficult to read. But
Yep. And the only way you could get around that is just by dragging this a little bit bigger for
Yeah.
the time being and then just dragging it back down. I leave it as almost as small as it goes, so you can always
Yeah.
drag it how you want. But yeah, so they really have improved that. They've also moved some of the other things over here, so they have multiple layers now. But we pretty much live on the first one. That's playback for any videos. Also, if you're in a slide with a timer on it, you can actually see the timer down here. You can see how long it's got left. If I click that, it stops the timer, so it'll stay on the slide forever now.
And then how do you get it back?
By clicking on
the
whatever,
slide
so you
itself. Okay.
slide itself or the next slide, whatever. So yeah, so pretty cool little features. One other thing that's a tip and trick is we got to talk about these. So the media tab still here, just in a little bit different location from what you probably know, Rick, because it used to be in the middle. But I built out we're going to talk about media, so let's talk about media. So let's talk back on the desktop first. I need to do this. This hasn't changed from when you were here, Rick, so nothing new here, but for all the other graphics ops, we always store all of our content that is delivered from the communications department in a weekend graphics folder out on our server. I've created a shortcut here so you can always get to it. You drill down to the date of the weekend, and then you've got all of the different content. So this is on the server, so we never want to take this media and drag it straight into ProPresenter. If the server disconnects or the network's slow, it's going to cause problems. So we always want to drag it local onto the machine. So what I've also created is folders on the desktop. So each of these holds a specific type of content. So the graphics folder holds full screen graphic content. That is something the communications department created, and something that's usually going to live longer than a week. So graphics could be, anything. As long as it's going to live longer than a week, it's probably going to go in the graphics folder. Then there's a photos folder, which I could rename this. I'm just leaving it as photos for now. But the photos folder's purpose is like, it's that week's content. So whether it's actual photos or maybe it's a graphic that I'm only throwing up for 1 week, I always put it in there because at the end of the week, I delete everything out of that folder and start it fresh every single week. So that's kind of the photos folder. I could even call it like the weekend folder or something, but that's that. The videos folder holds all videos, including slides that are videos. So we do have some of those motion slides now that have a little animation to them. Those are technically videos, so they live in the videos folder. I have a test folder that just has some random graphics and test videos and stuff. And then there's a name keys folder specifically for our name key videos. All of those, so if I'm pulling content from the server, I'm going to pull content from the server and drop it in one of these folders, copy, paste, whatever you want to do. All of these folders are then mirrored inside of ProPresenter. So if I go back to ProPresenter, I've got too many docs down here. Let's try this. There we go. Come on. Hello. Window. ProPresenter. There we go. So all these, when you open up the media tab, you'll see all of those folders represented here. So if you drop something in the folder on the desktop, it will automatically show up in this folder down here.
And that's the ones we use.
And these are the ones we use. So you can always drag them from the desktop folder straight onto a slide, but I find it much easier sometimes to go down here because you can actually see a preview of it, which is nice. So yeah, if you ever are missing a slide or something like that, probably go look here first, and then go look out on the server. So you've got graphics, you've got your photos, you've got all the test videos. There is a weird thing lately I've seen, especially with videos, where when you drag them into that folder, for the first few weeks, they don't show any thumbnails. So you're going to have to look probably for the name of the file down there. Name keys as well. We've got the name keys folder here. It has all the name keys videos. This is probably the most helpful because a lot of times we're changing people on the weekend. Someone gets sick, we need to change the name key. If there's ever not a name key for a person, just can it. Don't worry about it. It's not that big of a deal.
It's like for Andy.
Yeah.
When
I was off for a couple weeks. Yeah, they
something.
changed several people, and it was like new people.
Right.
And, yeah.
We didn't have just Andy. We had Andy and other people.
Oh, yeah.
But we didn't have just Andy.
Yeah.
So it's like, sorry, we can't.
No need to panic. Just kill it. Can it. It's not a big deal. But the nice thing about this is, and the reason why I say this specifically is, if you drag these from the desktop straight in, ProPresenter is going to default it to loop. It's going to default it to dissolve and not to cut.
Right.
So there are all these things. So what I've done is in this folder, when I add them to this folder, I automatically apply those settings. So I can actually go in and set some of that stuff ahead of time, which means when you drag those onto the slide, it automatically applies all those properties.
So is that another macro?
No, it's literally just saying, like, I want the behavior to be background, I want the playback to stop, and then I want the transition to be a cut instead of a dissolve. So
can you paste or can you paint those properties onto a new slide?
I could. Like,
can you take all those different properties?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes.
And put it on
That's a good question. That should be a macro, but I don't know if it actually does that. If not, that's a good suggestion.
Yeah.
I won't bring it up to them if it's not. So that's a good question, because that would be a nice macro to say, like, media, drag the macro on and apply some of those properties. Yeah. But just know that if you are ever needing to find a name key, you can find one here and you can just drag it right up on the slide, and all the settings come over and it's already applied. So that's real nice. Other graphics are located in here, so if you ever need to find a graphic, you can probably find it here.
And you'll not find any background graphics down there anymore.
Not anymore.
Because we don't need
You
them.
will technically on Graphics 1, but we don't use them, so you can ignore it. Yes, so that is media. The other thing that I said I was going to mention was sermon templates. So that's what the looks folder is. So if you're ever doing weekend message content, or it's ever a week where I'm gone or somebody's here, and ideally you all would do this anyways, Nate comes in and says, I got a picture to add. All right, well, send me the picture some way, airdrop it to the machine. We can airdrop it and you can save it in the downloads folder, or you can email it, whatever way you're going to get it on the machine. Drop the photo in the photos folder, then it'll show up down here on the media tab. So you got that far. But what if you need to add a slide, or you want to find the template for the message? You could copy or paste here, or you can go over to the looks folder, and I have built series looks for all of our series. I need to clean this up. It's been a while, but and it's got templates for every possible combination of slide you could ever need. So we're on Tied Up in Knots right now. So this is the looks for all the different types of slides. Whether it's a main point, it's a verse, it's the series graphic, a photo, a quote, full screen verse, all that is here. You can copy and paste it into this message and then just edit it to your delight.
Yes. And it's awesome.
Yes. Try to make life as easy as possible.
So that you can get out of here.
So I can get out of here and not have to worry about it. And I know that stuff's going to be consistent from week to week too when you go. Because, we don't leave all this stuff in the message slide to keep it, or the message show to keep it clean. So that one day you need to add a photo, well, you can go over to the looks, copy the photo slide, drop it on, then just change the photo and you're set. Which, by the way...
That keeps everything consistent.
Yep. By the way, speaking of, you saw me do this earlier while editing, but if you ever do copy this, I'm trying to find the one for this week. If you ever do copy this slide and you need to change this photo, if you edit it and click on it and go over to the shape, under that fill, you can actually choose what graphic that is. So I can actually change it there and it automatically updates. And because of the way
do that again.
Yep. So, and because of the way that I've got this box scaled, it's always going to fit appropriately as well, which is nice.
All right, so
So choose. So I'm in the editor.
Okay, but at the top right, what did that?
Oh, it's shape. Yep.
Shape. Okay.
Otherwise, it's text, and you don't want to be there. So, and then you just hit choose, and then you just choose your one, which this glorious picture will live on forever. So yeah, that's all there is to it. To editing those. We've just started doing that so that the sides don't have like black behind them, just to give them a little bit of texture and stuff. But the other thing with that, Rick, that is new, speaking of media, it used to be called media properties. If you wanted to change the way that you edit your media plays back, it's now called inspector. It took me like a week to find this. I'm like, I can't believe they got rid of media properties.
Right.
It's like the most important thing. But now it's called inspector, so if I go into inspector on media, I can actually see, I can preview the video, I can set the thumbnail, I can edit like scaling, and here's your looping and all that stuff. So this looks similar to what it used to look like, but finding it was a pain in the butt.
Well, and the other thing before this version, whatever it was called, it also had an arrow that indicated that you had
Yes.
Selections to make.
Yes.
Now all it says is inspector.
Yes.
It was
Yeah,
very
you have no
confusing.
idea. Yeah. So
I hit it.
now you know the inspector word is here. We pretty much live on these two tabs. Sometimes I'll set a thumbnail just to make sure it's good, and then I'll set the playback behavior. There is an in behavior as well that's new. So I can even say I want it to fade to black at the end of the video, which is kind of nice. If the comms department didn't put a fade at the end, I could throw that on and say, I want it to fade. I think maybe it's duration, maybe it's delay time. No, I don't know. I guess I can't change the length of it. Maybe it's always 1 second, but it is nice to know that you've got a fade to black option there, which is pretty sweet. Yep. Forgot to put it. Yep. Yep. So, or if you want a hard cut, you can even do a black after last frame, so it'll cut to black at the end, which is kind of nice. So yeah. Trying to think if there's anything else. Any questions or anything you've wondered about?
That's a lot of improvements.
It is a lot of improvements. They've definitely made some significant improvements. I will say, I'll give this example on Graphics One. I think Bobby knows about this. We are having, as with any new software, there are a few bugs. One of those bugs is when ProPresenter closes down and restarts. Let's see if I can actually do this. I'll do it this way. Right now, the stage display doesn't output when you first open up ProPresenter. So if I immediately go to this slide, you can see on the confidence monitor that it's black, even though it should have content. The only way to fix this is to go down here to the stage layout and to reapply the template that's already applied. So as soon as I do that, it applies, even though it's already selected.
Yeah, I've had that happen.
Have you told them about that?
We spent 28 emails back and forth on this problem. I finally figured out what it was because it's very specific to our setup.
Oh, really?
So there was only like 3 other churches that were even experiencing it. So I spent like a whole week just trying everything to figure out why it was happening. When I'd unplug this, it worked. And then I plug it back in, it doesn't work. And it's like, what the heck is going on? So we finally figured it out. They're supposed to put it in a bug fix, but it's been almost a month and a half now since we figured it out.
And I'm not. Three of us.
Are you having to wake something up, or?
It has to do with, because this machine specifically has 2 separate video interfaces coming out of it. Both of them get a sync signal. When both of them get a sync signal, the software gets confused as to which sync signal to look at. And so by the time it figures it out, then the stage display is already shown and it's missed some stuff. So if I unplug either of those sync signals, it works fine, but then I get scrolling video footage because the sync isn't there. So they know about it, and they don't have a sync in their test setup by default. So they were like, it works for us. We can't recreate it. And then finally I was like, oh, here's the problem. Plug these in, and then they're like, yep, now we're seeing it. So they know it's a problem. It's just taking them forever to fix it. So one day they will fix it, and we won't have to worry about it anymore. I have noticed, though, on weekends where I have a verse in here, if I go over to the verse slide and click on the verse slide, it does, because it triggers the stage layout to change, it does fix it. So if you want a quick way and you just see that, you can also click on that slide and then click back to a song and it'll fix it. You just can't click. You would think here, because this macro applies a stage display, that clicking on that again would reapply it, but it doesn't. So you'd have to go up here and actually have it change, or go down here and reselect it. One of the two. Just know that is a bug, and you will see that. So
that will happen every time you boot up.
Every time I boot up, once a day I have to do that. So, At first, there was a few weeks where I was forgetting. Now I think between me and the graphics ops, we've kind of looked out for each other and figured it out. But
once I knew it was an issue, I tried to be conscious of it.
Yeah. So, and you can change your preview monitor up here. You've seen me doing it all night to see the side screens, the server, or the confidence monitor. So you get to see all those different ends up here without, which those always show up on the multi-viewers as well, but there's a quick way of scrolling through if they're ever off or something. So, but yeah, that's ProPresenter 7. That's the deep dive.
Outstanding.
It is fantastic. I have really enjoyed working with it. I think it has made our workflow a lot faster,
And you
despite the
can organize
bugs.
as you go.
Yep.
You know, there are things.
A lot more flexible. It's also black and not this light gray, so your eyes are much nicer in the dark, you know. And I know Bobby says it plays with their eyes, but it is nice to have the grid, so I know what is transparent and what is not transparent, because before it used to just be black and you never knew if it was clear or not. So I wish they'd put that over here, because we'd never know when it's clear, but it is what it is. So
Next upgrade.
next upgrade, yeah, right. Somebody will complain enough, but so that is ProPresenter 7, you all.